Good evening, everybody. Today I'm going to talk to you about college students experiencing homelessness. So today's agenda is why does this topic interest me? What's the history behind this topic in higher education? What's the importance and the impact? And what are some possible responses of student affairs leaders? And so I'm interested for one because I've had the opportunity to work with some amazing students over the course of my 3 years, but most importantly, I've been able to work with students within the last year who have experienced homelessness of some sort, been in the foster care system, and or experienced food insecurity. And they've sought out many resources and just have not received financial support and that we who are blessed have received. Um, and also working with these students to show them that graduation is possible. And so as I continue in this field, I hope to continue using the blessings that I have to help these students defy all odds in order to be successful in their lives. So some history behind the subject. And so as we all know, when higher education started in the United States, it was limited to rich, white, Christian, heterosexual males. And so they had the elite privilege of attending institutions and furthering their education. And so as a result of the Morrill-Land Act, college building became a thing. And so from this act came A&M colleges, which eventually led to community colleges, which led to the building of stadiums, which meant more expansion for college campuses. And so the community college and junior colleges were more of that affordable option for students. And so we went to war twice. After World War II, college became almost a must. The notion of the American dream and how to move from one social status to another became the norm and became a trend. And so people started realizing by graduating college, you had the opportunity to receive better jobs with higher wages, and that these jobs wanted the people who were graduating from college. And so although a lot of students had attended college, there were still many who had not. And so first generation college students, that enrollment began increasing. And so in 1965, the Higher Education Act was passed, and this allowed higher education to become more accessible and affordable to students from lower socioeconomic statuses. And so this act pretty much granted an increased amount of financial aid to these families. And so, as we know, residence halls have existed just as long as higher education has existed in the United States. And so, originally, these were dormitories. And so, pretty much you eat, study, and sleep. That's it. That's what you live there for. As centuries and decades have passed, these buildings have become residence halls, so a place of life. And this became like a staple in the college student experience, which led to a profitable market for business owners interested in real estate. And so as the universities continued with this exponential growth, they needed more housing. With more students equals more housing. And so some of these schools, did not have the proper funds to build. And so they had to introduce themselves into partnerships with privatized housing companies in order to accommodate the housing of all the students. This is not cheap. And so with that comes much debt to the housing department and the university. And so if universities and housing departments are not in a position where they can pay cash for these buildings or take out a loan that they can pay off themselves, they end up working towards partnering with a privatized company. And so my equation is new halls plus inflation of our economy equals an increased cost of on-campus living. And so not only is on-campus living cost increasing, but the increase in tuition and fees as well. And so this has caused some students to have to move off of campus due to financial circumstances. And whilst a lot of our students have the opportunity or the ability to even move off of campus if they choose, there's still a significant amount of students who cannot do that, with some of these students being left to experience homelessness. And so, what is the impact of homelessness on our college students? College affordability is a hot topic. And for those of you following up with the presidential debates, or sorry, excuse me, not the debates, but the presidential campaign, college affordability is a hot topic on this as well. And so the cost of college is rising, but the amount of loans people take out are rising. And so we can, for cash, a lot of us cannot pay for college with cash. And so with this rising cost and the ability to pay decreasing, we have to borrow more. We just have to borrow more. But the federal Pell Grant has also been declining, the amounts they grant to people. And so not only do college students focus on tuition and fees, we use our financial aid packages to pay for school supplies, textbooks, technology that we need, especially if you're taking an online class or have to write a paper or anything for classes, housing, gas, transportation, food, childcare if you're a parent or have a family, and many more other living expenses. And so not being able to pay for these expenses can result in homelessness of many of our students. And so this brings about an added stress, which leads to a huge effect on academics, on the physical well-being of a person, which often is associated with food insecurity, psychological effects, social effects, and so many, many more. And so how should our student affairs leaders respond? I used two institutions one that I've had the pleasure of working at, and another that I've seen it come up in the news. And so I believe two possible paths would be, one, to create an office dedicated to serving students who have come from the foster care system, who experience and have experienced food insecurity and are experiencing homelessness or have experienced homelessness. And so KSU, Kennesaw State University, has an office called the Care Center. And so but I've had the opportunity to work closely with this office while I worked at Kennesaw State University. And so that's one option. Another option is to follow Lake Tahoe Community College in Washington and provide students with temporary leases. So pretty much providing them with temporary housing and assisting them in finding permanent housing. And so funding can be funky sometimes. And so funding is not always available for institutions to follow these footsteps and to do these two things, to create an office, which create jobs and positions for these needs, or even go and put out leases for these students. And so the biggest way I think we can, student affairs leaders and future student affairs leaders can continue, is by creating huge awareness on this topic and showing people how the privilege that you do carry and how we can assist our community, so our fellow peers. And so our administrators, our faculty, staff, students, donors, and the entire community can all pitch in to help donate resources to aid in the success of these students in whatever measure that may be. Thank you so much for watching my video, my PowerPoint. And here are the resources that I used. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Have a wonderful evening.